Buenas tardes y buenas noches. Good evening. I'm the Reverend Maria U.T. McCabe, although if you want, my real name is La Reverenda María Isabel Witty Clark Álvarez de McCabe. I am here this evening also to urge you to create a shorter timeline for passing for this bylaw to transition to battery-powered leaf blowers. I was really encouraged this evening to hear all of you listening to and discussing issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and proposing to examine yourselves as to how you deal with questions of white supremacy, as your diversity officer noted, and racism. I'm here to draw a direct line between my experience as a Latina elder, as someone who comes to you with a lifetime of Latinx immigration experience, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute, and the fact that the people most affected by the toxicity of gas-powered leaf blowers are Latinx. They are either documented in most cases, or in many cases, according to experts, 1 in 3 people who work for landscapers are undocumented. So I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. I told you I am a Latinx elder of Puerto Rican descent. Our immigration issues are different. Puerto Rico is essentially a protectorate or a colony of the United States. I will tell you, I watched my grandfather work himself to the bone through his entire life with a second-grade education to be able to send his children to college. I will tell you that I have worked as a chaplain for a significantly long time in an inner-city hospital where the population is mostly Black and Latinx. I'm a native speaker of Spanish. I have useful skills, and I bring the cultural understanding. I worked in Tijuana as a volunteer, helping asylum seekers get legal advice, helping them to not be separated from their children by performing marriage ceremonies. As a minister, I can do that. And I listened to many stories, and the one instance that I will tell you that still wakes me up at night is the incident of a little boy, probably 6 years old. The children who are waiting for asylum are all traumatized. And this little boy, I believe he was from Guatemala, very quiet. All these children are quiet. And he drew a picture that he then covered with slashes of red. And he turned to us and he said, "That was when they came with the knives and they killed my family." I say this to you because I know from my entire lifetime that people like me, especially people who don't speak English the way I do, but people like me face a whole series of mistaken assumptions about who we are, that we're thugs, that we're racist, that we're rapists, that we don't work very hard, et cetera, or that we don't merit, that our health and our values don't merit being considered. Research published in the NIH library consistently shows that Latinx immigrants, documented and undocumented, occupy the most hazardous workplaces in this country. Included in that list are things like construction. When Katrina hit New Orleans, thousands of undocumented immigrants were brought in to work the most dangerous portions of those jobs. Meatpacking plants, things like janitorial services, even landscaping, garden work, and farm work are included in these most hazardous workplaces. Undocumented immigrants provide essentially much cheaper labor than others. They come with tremendous fear. They come with these children. They come with these experiences, and they are taken advantage of. And the reason there are not more statistics and there are not more studies done is because there are ugly secrets involved in hiring. Your former governor, Mitt Romney, had to fire 2 crews of undocumented immigrant landscapers who you didn't he said he didn't realize that they were undocumented. I know I'm probably sounding emotional, but this is an incredibly important issue. And I have spent my career, my ministry, doing my best to advocate for people who are in this society, who are my grandparents, who are my people, who have no voice. And I've heard this evening, I was so encouraged, as I say, to hear you talk about exploring how does your town, how do other municipalities, how do we learn how to see the people in our midst, right? How do we learn how to see and realize that their health, their children, I'm telling you, my people are incredibly hard workers. These men, and mostly landscapers are men. I understand that women landscapers aren't quite tough enough to get the job. I would argue with that, but that's not why I'm here tonight. Undocumented workers who get these jobs are threatened, especially in this climate, but are threatened for their entire work life with deportation. They are paid routinely, and this is researched and also is known. They are routinely paid less. Often in our history with our immigration system, companies and employers have felt able to hire undocumented workers and then fire them with threats of deportation before payday. I urge you to consider the impact on the health. If research says that at least 1 in every 3 landscaper employees are undocumented workers, 1 in 3, 30%, that is a big number of people who are more likely than not working under threat, working under intimidation, when all they want is safety for their families, safety from political violence, and food to put on the table. I'll just close. I'm a minister, I can't help this, but I will just close with quoting. I just preached to my congregation about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who always said, "It is always the right time to do the right thing." And so I encourage you to really consider doing the right thing in this moment. And the right thing is to think of the health and to perhaps, if you haven't before, consider this invisible population. You have the power to do it. I hope you will, and as quickly as possible. Gracias, and thank you.